today I have a special guest with me. I wanted to close out Mental Health Awareness Month with really doing something that's more so on the personal side. I really want to make sure that I have something that like really speaks to my mission as far as like mental health goes. So today I have Olivia with
Hey
me,
y'all.
aka Liv, and Olivia is a friend of a friend. We've been following each other on social media, and I've admired her because she has been very open and candid about her struggle with mental illness. And so, like, you look at a beauty like this, and you're just like, what? Like, and we're not talking like depression and just anxiety because those seem to be the ones that we more commonly know about. But types that are really more severe that can really make life hard and debilitating. And so, one thing I really want to do is have a story told about what that struggle is like from the mouth of somebody who has done what she's done, who's accomplished what she's accomplished, and really give her a voice to tell her story. I think that too often our idea of mental health or more severe kinds of mental health has like an image attached to it. So you think of somebody who is maybe schizophrenic, your homeless man downtown like screaming random stuff to each other, and you just look at him and you kind of judge him like, what's wrong with him? Like he gotta have something wrong with him. But the truth is that mental illness doesn't look one way. And so I really want to dispel this belief that like you can look at somebody and tell that they have something wrong with them, and that's a part of the big section of like destigmatizing mental health because we think that like mental health has one look or mental illness has one look, and it doesn't. And so we want to be able to make sure that we are just being kind and encouraging and supportive towards people who we may not even know is dealing with something. So Liv, I want to have you tell my viewers a little bit about yourself and just give us a little synopsis.
Okay, so my name is Olivia. I'm a graduate of Hampton University where I received my Bachelor's of Arts in Technical Theater. I lost my mom in 2015 due to stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. I lost her 2 months before my graduation, which happens to be on Mother's Day. Praise report, I just graduated 5 years ago from Hampton on May 10th, so I've been celebrating that. Outside of that, I kind of went into a downward spiral where I was dabbling into activities that were not, I guess, befitting for the woman that I was trying to become. As a result of that, I ended up giving my life over to Christ. I got saved January 4th, 2016. The next day, I was starting a cosmetology program to get my cosmetology license. Ended up not going to sleep for 2 weeks straight, not eating. That's how dedicated I am to my work. I throw myself in. I get so absorbed in it that I don't take care of myself. It got to the point where I was so spiritual and so happy that I gave my life over to Christ that supernatural things were happening to me that I could not explain. I was acting completely different around my family and friends. They could tell that something was off. One night I was in the shower for too long. I was in the shower for at least almost close to 2 hours where my family finally just came in and was like, what's going on? And I wasn't doing anything, but it just, you would have thought that I had like an exorcism or something. It turns out I ended up having to go to the hospital, the ER. I was admitted into the mental hospital for the first time at Chicago Lakeshore. I was there for about a month. They only had diagnosed me with bipolar type 1, manic disorder. Okay. Basically meaning that I have a different range of emotions, but I was in a psychosis then. They didn't realize that I was still hearing and seeing things that others could not. What a psychosis is for me is I lose touch of reality and I'm in a fantasy world where I feel like I'm in supernatural. I explained to my psychiatrist as if angels are falling, right shadows on the right, dark shadows on the left, and it's more of a supernatural thing where I feel connected to God that other people don't. But because some people are not in tune into their spiritual world, it comes off as if I'm delirious or whatever. So I was in my first hospitalization for about a month. I got released about maybe a week or two later. My family could still see that something was still wrong, so I got admitted again. This time to Hartgrove Behavioral Hospital. I was there for 2 months, and while they were there, they actually did intensive research where I had CAT scans. different tests with different psychiatrists where they found out where I not only was I bipolar, but I have schizoaffective disorder as well, which means that I borderline between personalities as well, and hearing and seeing things that other people don't, having hallucinations and delusions. I have no history of mental health in my family at all. I'm the only person that I know of that has this diagnosis. They said that it's possible from something that I had took. I did a lot of different drugs, probably did a lot of different pills, smoked a lot of different weed. So they did see that I had severe brain damage. And on one of my, I don't know if it's the frontal lobe, but whatever part of my brain that controls my thought process of like dreams and things of that nature. So that was devastating. So I ended up coming home and they were like, your life is going to have to change around drastically. I mean, I was already, had decided to become saved, but as far as drinking and smoking, the type of things that I was doing, I was going to have to let that go completely. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not ready to let that go. I was ready. I was like, I just got out of school. That's what I have been doing the last 4 years. I was still able to
get still in this prime area where we like to have fun and turn up, and that's a part of our turn up.
Yeah, and I had to be more mindful of the people that I had in contact, more mindful of the types of conversations that I were having. I was hypersensitive. So I was able to go a year without a relapse, and then in 2017 I had another relapse where I was watching Grey's Anatomy, and all of a sudden I felt like I was part of the TV show. Like if I walked around, I felt like this stopped until I was paying attention. I would try to go to Aldi's, and I felt like I was Mariah Carey or something. Like I was literally losing it, and I had to go back to the mental hospital again. My last hospitalization was in 2017 at Ingalls, and that was my wake up call. Like I have to take my medication. I didn't like taking my medication because it was sedating. I didn't have a problem with doing the things that they suggested in order for me to get better, but I did have an issue with the fact of how it made me feel. Because
a lot of people do say that it makes them feel zombie-like.
Yes.
Like you're just kind of like
what I
dead,
saw.
where you don't feel good or bad.
Yeah, and that's what I was seeing in the mental hospital from firsthand. I've seen how they treat people are treated. I see how these medications are affected. How can they go on and have a regular life when the medications that they're taking are so severe? It makes them not even want to get out of bed and even do something as simple as brush their teeth. I know because that's where I was. But I had to think about it and really speak life into myself and just remind myself who I was, who my mother was, and where I came from. I didn't go to Hampton University to be a bum. I didn't join Alpha Kappa Alpha to become a bum. I didn't do all these great things. I didn't go to beauty school to get my certification in aesthetics, not to get my license in the end. I didn't put myself in a position to be successful to not make it at the end. And that is the mindset that you have to have moving forward, even if you have a diagnosis or not, is how bad do you want it? Sacrifices have to be made. I didn't want to take my medication because I didn't like the side effects that they were giving me. I wasn't able to articulate myself. I wasn't able to be as quick-witted as I was when I was in college. My speech was completely different. I have to work out more. I have to do calisthenics to get my balance because my side effects of my medication is that I'm clumsy now. That does not mean not take it. That just means you have to do something else in order to counteract those side effects. And then explain that to your doctor. Well, this is what's happening and this is how it's making me feel. So moving forward, I need something different.
Okay, so you were just talking about medications. I think that the medication piece is a huge part of like the stigmatization of mental health. Like people are nervous or scared to go to therapy because they just think that they're going to get just put on a med. And what I really want people to realize is, even if you just suffer from depression and anxiety, medication can really provide you relief. Now, I understand not wanting to be dependent, and that is why there are, rules and guidelines to what type of meds you get prescribed, or how you take them, or like if you decide you don't want to, like the proper procedure of like weaning off. But if you're somebody who deals with more severe mental health, like medications may become a part of your new reality, just because once you find the right fit, it can give you, a lot of maintenance as far as your mood and making sure that you're stable. And so sometimes I know that it's tough to talk about with people, or they don't really understand. So can you just talk a little bit more about like the importance of just not refusing meds off back and like learning to kind of find your balance and like the patience it takes to really find something that fits?
I would say it's really all about knowing yourself and what exactly are you trying to achieve at the end of the day. For me, I knew I didn't want to be dependent on meds, so that means I had to do my research. With every medication that they gave me, I actually read the pamphlet that goes along with it. What is the side effects? What are things that I can do to counteract those side effects? Because at the end of the day, I know if I don't take it, I'm going to end up back in the hospital. I know if I do take it, if I take too much of it, I'm going to end up being sedated. So what do I need to do to counteract it? It's kind of like you have to be proactive on your part, you know?
Yeah.
And it takes a level of understanding, because that's something that I didn't get at first either, because I felt like it was embarrassing.
Same. Yeah.
Because I had to take all these pills at a certain time, or how it had me reacting and talking to people in a different way. And people just, you can tell that people can know that you're off a little bit. It's embarrassing to a certain degree. So I can understand why people wouldn't want to do it, because who wants to be the only one at the party that gotta leave early, or that can't indulge in the activities with everybody else? But it also has to take a level of maturity and understanding. Well,
because alcohol and drugs will affect those
definitely
meds.
Definitely, I know, because I used to
try to mix them,
try to mix them, and end up acting a fool or something like that, or have an embarrassing moment happen, and it's just like, at what point enough is enough. And for me, I knew that I didn't want to go back to the hospital, because yes, I understood that something was wrong, but I was not, at lack for better terms, as bad off to the other people that I was in the hospital with. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is not my reality at the end of the day. Like I said, I didn't go through all the things that I went to only end up in like solitary confinement and straitjackets all the time. Like I have to take the step up, and it's not just about placing the blame on other people and asking other people to understand what I'm going through. Because I also feel like people with mental health end up becoming like almost like victimize themselves. I know, because I used to do it. I used to feel like, oh, because I have this disorder, you can't talk to me a certain way, and blah, blah, this. And
or expecting the world to kind of cater to you.
And walk on eggshells.
And that's one thing I talk to my clients a lot about. And in my last video, like, we talked about triggers, and the fact that like triggers can be inescapable. Like, there are always going to be things that we feel like provoke us to like put us in a different mind space that we know we're better than. So like, how do we get to a place where we, you know, again, especially for people that deal with mental health issues, I know that you can use it as a crutch, or like, or it becomes an issue with your interpersonal relationships with your family, your friends, because you do something and you like, well, you know, I got, you know, I got symptoms,
like, girl, like,
and everything
okay,
can't be right. You have to learn that, like, even with a mental illness or dealing with mental health issues, I used to tell my clients, it doesn't give you an excuse to be a bitch.
It doesn't.
And people will only give you so many passes before the relationship in itself is just ruined. So, like, a part of you, yes, you struggle. And what are you doing to make sure that you are addressing your symptoms as they come up, and not projecting or taking it out on other people?
Because it's like, you also feel like you got to have those people that's your person. I had to learn that my boyfriend and my friends and my family are not my therapists. It is not their job for me to just relinquish all of my crap on them. Yes, there is their job to be supportive, but they're human too. They got their own stuff that they got going on. It's not always about me. And that was like a really hard pill to swallow, because it's like, oh my God, like, and they literally had to break down, Olivia, it's not always about you. And that's why I had to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do on the side, just to go out and seek that therapy, making sure that I'm going to taking that extra step to make sure my mental health is in order, not just taking my medication, but establishing a therapist, about telling her how I don't like my medication and things of that nature, doing my psych evaluations every time they come up, meeting with my psychiatrist, and actively playing a part in my recovery, because it all starts with me. For me, it wasn't until I got saved that I realized that I had to take it more seriously, because I can't do it by myself. And this is just my own personal praise report, because if it wasn't until I got saved, I probably would still be
doing some of the things that you were doing,
and continue to be frustrated as to wondering why is it not working out? Well, when you learn how to change your mind and try to just look at every good in every situation, it really does help. And as cliche as it is, but sometimes I have to like get myself together. Like, yeah, I could choose to have a pity party about this going on right now, but if I know that I'm a Christian woman and know that God is going to make a way, it's going to work out.
Yeah.
And it always works out.
Absolutely.
It always works out.
Absolutely.
I never have to want for anything. And I don't even mean just in finances. I just mean in life. I can move comfortably.
Yes.
And knowing that what's for me is always going to be for me without force and without hesitation. And when you move like that, good things just constantly happen. And when you mean well for other people, it comes back on you, and everything that's connected to you feeds off you, and that's taken care of as well. Everybody around me, they always get blessings, and I don't mean that in a braggadocious way. I mean that because I always speak life in the people that I love and care about to let them know before I just relinquish my crap on them. Hey, how are you doing today first? Do you mind if I share something that's really pissing me off? Because I need a moment to get it together, and I need that bad bitch pep talk afterwards. Having those people that don't have a problem with saying, okay, Olivia, you are doing a bit much right now. Like, yes, you're entitled to how you feel, but at the end of the day, how is this going to benefit you? Right. And making sure that you have those people. And then if you don't have those people, asking the universe or whoever you serve to put you in a position to receive those support. People, to get those supports, because it really is all about you at the end of the day. And I feel like a lot of times people with mental health, we always are placing the blame on other people because it's hard to take a look and realize that, dang, like this means I'm going to have to go 10 times harder to get just half of what I want. But that's just the stigma of being a black person in general, you know. Absolutely. You just got to go hard. It's how bad do you want it, and not make excuses for it, because what happens when you don't have that support system at the end of the day? Right. You still have to rely on stuff.
Yeah. And I talk a lot about like being able to get in your own head and provide that motivation. Like again, with the population that I've served, they get in these spaces where like they feel like they don't have any control because they feel like their mental illness has relinquished all control from them. And I'm like, you have a lot of control here. Like, yes, you have this symptom. That doesn't mean you have to react this way, or that doesn't mean that you have to keep feeding these negative thoughts. At any point, you can step in and say, hey, I want to do something differently. So I'm going to try to make sure that I have the skills to learn how to turn my mind and put myself in a better position even when I have hard days. And then just not having this all or nothing attitude where, you know, I had a terrible day. You had a bad hour. Don't relinquish your day. Don't relinquish your ability to have a good day because you've gotten in your own head and convinced yourself this is a bad day. So just little things like that really change how we're able to deal with, you know, negative and uncomfortable feelings and thoughts as they come up.
And just learning how to be more gentle with yourself as well.
Self-compassion.
More self-compassion. That's something I had to do too, because I feel like I always take my best foot forward and constantly try. I would say I'm really resilient, but I don't give myself enough credit for the things that I have accomplished. So just taking that step back throughout each day, like, I kind of did fuck up here, and I should have changed should have did something differently in that realm, but knowing I'm going to try again tomorrow or in a few hours, there's always an opportunity for growth and just to learn something. I feel like in this mental health journey, there are never no losses. At the end of the day, it's all lessons and elevation. I use the stepping stones. I use the rocks that people throw at me as stepping stones to get me closer to my purpose and calling of my life for God's purpose. And that's kind of like how you have to think of it. And it's hard. It's easier said than done, but I lost my mom. Like I said, I lost my mom, and I feel like I don't have my grandmother. I don't have any real women support right now other than my family and like my friends' moms.
But those matriarchs are different.
You know what I'm saying? I don't have that, so I'm kind of like navigating that on my own, and I have an older sister as well, but like I said, she lost her mom too. So we're both struggling and trying to find our own way and how to cope with, and it's just like, you look at that and you look at other people, we all got our own stuff. And that's what you got to keep in mind. It's not just, like I had to say, it's not just about me. We all got our things that are going on. I have to constantly take accountable for Olivia, how I interact with people when people don't respond the way that I want them to. That does not mean that they have an issue with me. If I have an issue with them being more assertive and not passive-aggressive or aggressive.
Absolutely.
But just being able to say, hey, what you did here, I don't particularly like. It's a triggering.
It made me feel
this way. This is why it made me feel this way. Could you not do that anymore? yes, it sounds so simple and redundant, but it's gonna really show you who's meant to
That's
be
how
in your
you
life.
set boundaries, y'all. That
And who's
exact
not.
phrase. Yeah.
And let me tell you something. The people who don't have an issue with it, they gonna fall in line.
Right.
And if you gotta
Exactly.
keep repeating yourself, then that's not who you need to be in. It's not even a bad situation where a lot of people feel like too, or because it didn't work out, it was something I did wrong.
Right.
It's not that. We all got our different ways, and we just trying to find people that we can align with.
Right.
And sometimes you're not gonna find that. That's okay. Good riddance to you, and may you find the next person that you can be in alignment with. And I'm gonna come and do me and move on from that. I had to learn how to stop taking things just so personally.
Absolutely.
And since I've done that, I feel like I be walking on sunshine. I'm more like airy. I have a better person. I felt like I'm getting back to my old self because I'm just naturally have a jubilant personality and like to be around people. And then people can tell when you're off.
Well, absolutely.
They can always tell when something is wrong with me because of my attitude, or I get irritated that way. And I'm like, I don't want to be the type of person where people feel like they're around a black cloud. That doesn't make me,
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't make me, and that's already like you deal with so much when you have a mental health issue that pushes you to isolate. So like you definitely don't want to be or have that effect on other people where it's like every time she around, it's like, it's this and that.
I'm like, all right. Because we all got our own stuff going on too, but just trying to learn how to just check it and leave it at the door and trying to be the best person possible and not using your mental health disorder as a means to be a rude person, as a means to be stagnant, as a means to be lazy. It's just like when you look at the celebrities, because I was a theater major at Hampton, so I'm trying to get to a certain caliber of status. When I look at and study the people that I admire, everybody in Hollywood, and 9 times out of 10, everybody has their form of mental health disorder or mental illness that they're battling with. Some more severe than others, but we all are struggling with something.
Right.
And I feel like if anything during this time period, it has shown us that we have to be more empathize with people and just show more compassion and really go over. We all need one another at the end of the day. Just learning, for me, just having to speak more life into people and just not expecting people to say nice things to me. Just going out of my way and just saying nice things to my coworkers just to uplift them. Or just people, just my friends and my family. It also starts with me. You have to be the energy that you want to receive. And it comes back tenfold. It really does. I do believe that.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about, like, how do you tell people about your diagnosis, or like with dating and relationships, like, how does that come up if somebody is dating somebody who's dealing with a mental illness? Like, how can they be more supportive? Like, what's your feedback on that?
For me, I try to bring it up sooner rather than later because with my diagnosis, I know that I'm just personally outside of that. It's just naturally a person that's a lot to deal with. So it takes a special type of person to want to be even around that. And so I always give people the disclaimer of, well, look, this is what I got. I have a unique case of bipolar disorder, and I explain to them what it is. This is what I do, but I also explain that I'm in recovery. Yeah, this is just not, well, this is what I got, and this is what it is. And you got to
expect you to deal with it.
No, I do expect you to deal with it, but on top of that, know that I'm in my process of leveling up where I'm trying to have better control over that so that it doesn't interfere with my friendships and relationships and things of that nature. And I have yet to meet a guy that had an issue with it so far. I mean, they all fall by the wayside. I feel like that has
that's neither here nor there.
Diagnosis, but neither here nor there. But as far as like with other people in relationships, especially with the relationship that I'm in now and working with him, showing him that, okay, this is what you can say. These are the things that you can do, how you can do your own research.
Right.
You have to really got to find people who really are actually interested in you for you.
Absolutely.
And that's why I've it's a gift and a curse in a way to have this diagnosis because it really does weed out the people who just
not there for you.
That's not really got a best
or don't want to invest.
I don't really want to take that time to really get to know the interests and things that I like, or knowing what my triggers are to help me better overcome it. It does, like I said, I had to send links to my ex, like this is what I deal with, this is what I do. When you say I'm acting stupid, crazy, or tweaking, this is why it makes me act this way, because you not do it. And then when you see that there's still a constant pattern where you're constantly telling somebody something that they're doing in your relationship that's not working, then at that point you just need to distance yourself. And that's how I had to do it, not just more of just telling them, but actually showing up and with action and actually like meaning it in that aspect. So just more so with people giving support and just a listening ear, because I feel like when you're trying to talk to your loved ones or other people that have known you for a long time and known you a different way, and are not really familiar seeing you with this, I don't want to say captivity, but like with this disorder or whatever, their judgment, because they know that you are more capable of so much more. So they're ready to cut you off, or I feel like a lot of people's communication response is to listen and not respond instead of hearing both parties. But it really takes an understanding from both parts, where letting people say what they have to say, but then most important, letting the person with the diagnosis get off what they feel, and let them talk it out, because 9 times out of 10 they're just as lost as you are. Yeah. So that's kind of how I've experienced that with my relationships and friendships. Just more so just being honest about it and just being more upfront and owning it. Not even in the means of something to be embarrassed about, because I'm not really embarrassed about it. I don't have any problem talking about it, but just knowing that this is a part of my life. And either if you want to be a part of my life, this is what we're going to have to get through together.
Absolutely. And that like you said, it weeds out the people that, don't really have your best interests in mind, because they aren't willing to educate themselves or to make the adjustments in their own behavior to better, communicate with you when things aren't necessarily all, peachy and stuff. So one thing I wanted to touch back on is, so as far as like your medications, they help with the hallucinations and the delusions.
And they also help with my emotions.
Okay, they mood stabilization. So would you say, are most of your hallucinations like religious based, or do they attach themselves to kind of anything?
They're more so religious based for the most part. It'll just be something as simple as I might see a shadow just dash past, or I might hear something like nothing out of the ordinary. That's why I would explain to people, like, it's not something that is like alarming. It's just like I might hear my mom's voice, or it'll be only things that I can recognize that alert me that something is going on. And I don't mean it in a sense of like being psychic or like a medium. I just think when I do know, because I've grown up in church all my life, the more that you are connected to God, God grants everyone with spiritual gifts. So I do believe that that's just part of my spiritual gifts in that aspect, and being able to connect people with God, because I see Christianity in a lot of different ways than other people, and I use my mental health diagnosis to kind of help bring people into Christianity in that way of form, because it really has a lot to deal with it. Because I felt like a lot of people feel like, well, what I would used to say is, if the mind is a terrible thing in ways, and if your diagnosis is mental health, then that means that God is trying to use you in that realm.
That light, yes,
and that if you're having those negative thoughts, that's Satan keeping you in bondage from reaching your highest potential. If you're only used, I think what they say is like 10% of your brain, and you have a mental health disorder, that means you have access to a lot more than most people don't. This is my personal opinion. I don't know if this is actually true or not. But from my own personal experience, I was able to like see things and view things from a whole different world in my psychosis, that I'm pretty sure that 10% would never be able to see.
Absolutely.
And now that I have been brought back down, it's like, okay, well, how can I share this in a way where it's like spreading the good news and not looking like, okay, well, this girl is nuts.
And I think that works with helping to accept that this is, that this is something that you have, and being able to like fit it into your life versus like it taking over your life. Like, you're like, this is a piece, and this is how this piece is like allowed me to do these different things, and that works to see things as like, okay, yes, I have this, but it doesn't have to be the worst thing ever either. And so that works with, accepting. I think when you go through what you went through, you could accept it as like, damn, like that's just one more hurdle, but you were able to really take it and be like, no, like this is just another piece of my story, and I'm going to fit it into my life so that it doesn't stop me or prevent me from doing anything. And I think a big misconception is that like people that hear things or have hallucinations or whatever, that they're always bad or that they're dangerous. And, I think you articulated that very well, that these things aren't always something to be alarmed. Like the main thing we ask people is like, if you hear voices, what type of voices? Good voices, bad voices? Like, because if they don't tell you to be out here, doing stuff or whatever, then a person can live knowing that those voices that are just something that they hear or something that they see, without giving it so much energy, because again, it's not something that is harmful. It's just a part of your reality, and so you learn to accept that. And I think you've done a great job of being able to like just try to make sense of whatever's been going on. And
kind of just have fun with it at the end of the day. And I know that's kind of like laugh to keep from crying in a way, but it's just like just different things because I know that because of my schizo side, my voice might tend to change. So I give my I'm sorry, that's my alarm. It's time for me to pray, y'all. Sorry. I set reminders throughout the day so to remind me when to pray in case I have literally not joking. It says time to pray. And just as a reminder to just stay embedded in the Word of God whenever I am having those moments. My job be throwing me off the rocker sometimes. I just taking a moment to myself to just go to the bathroom and just be like, Lord, I need you now. I need this moment to where I just need you to intervene and just give me the strength to just go on and carry out the shift.
I like that because it makes you intentional about incorporating that into your day.
And that's what you have to do with your mental health recovery, being intentional. And for me, that was the step that I needed to take by being intentional. Setting prayer reminders at 8 a.m., noon, 4 p.m., and another one at 8 p.m. so I could just have that moment. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something long and drawn out. It just is something to just give thanks, to say, God, thank you for letting me be here and let me experience you in this realm and just let me give honor and glory to you for this one moment and just taking those times to be intentional. Just watch how God blesses you and just minor things and things of that nature. But definitely,
So what are some misconceptions that you feel like people have about mental health or mental illness and all of that?
I think when people start to see that you are doing well, they just automatically assume that you don't have it no more. Or that, that's more so for me, personally, is they just assume that, well, why can't you just get it together? Like, well, what's wrong with you? Just
like stop. Forgetting, like, when you have low periods, this is why I'm having this low period.
And it's just like, it's not as simple as just stop. And I had to literally break it down to my family and friends. And I was like, well, do you think I personally want to feel this way? Like, do you think I want to be able to cry at a drop of a hat? There was a time where I've grown so much where I wouldn't even be able to get through something like this without just bawling into tears. I also lost my mom as well, so that was a PTSD from that as well, where I couldn't even listen to certain songs from her or certain words that would say, and I would just break down like I was a nervous wreck, and everybody just couldn't understand. Well, why couldn't you let it go? Why don't you just let it go? I lost a significant piece to me in a very traumatic way that was devastating to me because everyone else knew about her illness, the severity of her illness, but me until she was gone. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't get to hear my mom's last words of "I love you." I didn't get to that chance of hearing that "I am proud of you." I had my degree dedicated to her, so therefore her name was going to be on it, and not just mine, because I wouldn't have even thought about going to college or doing half of the things that I've done if it wasn't for her. And that was my way of giving it to her, and I never got that chance. And of course, everybody has that cliche of, oh, well, you got the memories, and she's always looking out. It ain't the same. It's just not the same. And that's just
grief in itself brings a slew of emotions. So I can only imagine what it's like to already have to like deal with these mental health issues that kind of find their way into every crevice of your life, and then adding the grief on top of that. Like, that's a lot. And I think that ultimately, like you said, it's unfortunate that, people see that you've done well thus far and forget. And I want to make sure everybody knows, like, bipolar 1, it is a combination of, depressive and manic type symptoms. So you will have depressive episodes that are the worst, and then you get this peak of energy where you do whatever and can stay up all hours of the night and you're super focused, but it doesn't always yield in good results because, people who have bipolar can overspend. They engage in, a lot of sexual activity just because, like, their minds and whatever their thoughts and their feelings are doing are moving a mile a minute. So it's kind of like a crash and burn where you
and everything you just said is everything, being honest, things that I struggle with, and things that I have to go over and beyond, and that's why I had to cling to myself to some type of faith to stay grounded. And then it's like, not only do I have to deal with the range of emotions where 1 minute I'm one way and another minute I'm another way, I hear and see things that ain't there too. So it's a constant, like, my mind, and I tell people, like, I'm always overwhelmed. I'm exhausted. I feel drained. When I know an episode is coming on, it's literally like I just begin to cry and break down. It's like, and I know that that's an area where I'm becoming wholeness, where I'm in my journey to wholeness, where that is one area of my life where God is healing. And it's painful, but because I have to go through it, it's going to be a little uncomfortable, but it's bringing me up to where I'm supposed to be. And just kind of like thinking of it in that nature. But kind of like bring it back to your question as far as like understanding for people that it all stems from something. Generational curses are real. People don't understand that their upbringing, how maybe what their father or their mother said, or that one incident in elementary school. They don't understand that one thing may be small to you, but for them it had planted a seed that now has spiraled into something else. And then there's constantly something else, and then something else, and something else. So I feel like people don't take that into play when it deals with mental health illness, as far as, well, where did it come from? I know for me that it came from some type of childhood trauma on top of losing my mom and things of that nature, because I've overall
there's a substance abuse
too. So it's a lot of factors that play into mental health.
And I try to explain that to people, that it's not just a like, well, how did you get it? Like, we literally we have biological factors. You have social factors. You have upbringing. You have, risk factors as far as like where you grew up, the type of environment, where you exposed to abuse and trauma. Like, all of these things work together to kind of create a mental health issue sometimes. Like, personality disorders, which she said is like partially, composed of like schizoaffective, that usually comes from like some form of childhood trauma. They don't just come out of thin air. Like, there are usually like multiple factors that kind of go into how we come about to have a person that, has all these complexities that make it hard for them mentally and emotionally. So one thing I wanted to, I'm glad that, because I didn't have this initially, but because I didn't know. I know that everybody is not a believer in God. I hope that you believe in something. I hope you have some form of a higher power. But can you just talk a little bit about people who kind of don't understand the value in having to manage mental health, not just with the church, but outside of the church, and kind of how do we continue to let people know that there is room for both?
For me, it's always been about balance. And that's kind of how I feel like ended me up in the mental hospital, was because I felt like now that I got saved, I'm holier than thou. So certain stuff that is beneath me and I can't participate in. And to a certain extent, yes, that is true. But I'm also human, and there are things that I like. So, for example, for me, instead of listening to secular or worldly music all the time, I integrated with 10 minutes of praise and worship, and give God that same energy that I would give him if I was out here twerking to Megan Thee Stallion, that I would do to Fred Hamilton. Just creating that same energy, just making that time, and knowing that God understands you. It doesn't have to make sense. And I feel like, and this is just me personally, the Christian community has become hypocrites and has really deterred people from wanting to get to know God, because people are not willing to be open about their struggles in Christianity. A lot of people think that once they get saved, that this is supposed to be some type of walk in the park, and that you're exempt from struggle. No, if anything, because you are a Christian, you're going to be hit 10 times harder. But because we have been saved and have Jesus in our heart, we're supposed to know that because we have this, that everything is going to be okay. And there is true. That I'm not, rolling in dough by any means, but I don't have to worry about where my next it always works out, as long as I always do my part. It's believing in the things that are unseen, instead of having a pity party at the things that are right here, right now. One thing that I do, and I tell everybody connected to me, we don't do pity parties no more. If you got an issue, we're going to talk about it for about 30 minutes to an hour. And then after that, we're going to talk about solutions.
What are we going to do? Yes. I really I've told that to so many people. And that's the thing, is like a lot of this stuff, you just have to tap into that part of your knowing and your understanding to get to like these little gems where it's like, yes, sometimes we want to sit in our feelings. And that's okay. But we don't stay in our feelings. So I used to tell clients, give yourself an hour, if it's that rough, a day. And you sit and you soak and you throw yourself that pity party, and then it's like, what are we going to do? Because that's how you stay moving forward. That's how we don't stay stuck in life's problems, because they going to happen.
And for me, it was reading my Bible for the most part. A lot of people only read the Old Testament and then have these preconceived notions that Christianity is just this bad thing. And to a certain extent, the Old Testament did not predict a very portray Christianity in a good way, which is why it was rewritten in the New Testament to kind of smooth out what was the kinks and out. And what I say that to say is, I use the Holy Bible app, so whenever I do feel emotions of anger or irritability or impatience, I type that in, and then
it gives you a scripture
to help me kind of get through that emotion and then understand why I'm feeling that way, and it kind of checks me in that instant. And I do understand that Christianity is not for everybody, and not by no means, and I'm trying to just push you into getting saved, but at least opening up the Bible and at least opening up your heart to hearing what is actually written in the Word of God, and not just going based off what you're seeing in society. Just doing your own research, and I feel like people did more of that, they would have their own personality with God, and they really wouldn't care about what other people would say.
Yeah, and I think that it's actually a fact, and that's why I tell people, like, if God is not your thing, if Christianity is not your thing, whether it be the universe, the stars, whatever you feel like it is that you believe in something, have something faith-based, because it is a proven fact that people who have some sort of spiritual grounding or at least some sort of faith do better with getting through their mental health issues, just because it keeps you in hope, it keeps you in moving forward, it keeps you in knowing that you are covered, instead of relinquishing all, like, that you're just not out of control of everything, that there is other things or a person or whatever it is, the spirit that is helping you navigate things, and that touches a different part of you mentally and emotionally when bad things happen. You're able to sort through it and think, why am I going through this, versus like bad shit just always happening to me, or what can I take from this? Like, a lot of that is just faith-based and spiritual based to keep us with this forward thinking mindset that, like, we're going to have problems, and that's okay, but that there is nothing that you can't push through or you can't overcome.
And I always tell people too, like, whenever you lose a loved one or something traumatic happens, my mom was very much a heavy part of my life, and even before I had went off to Hampton, she had bought me like a pink Bible, and that was just the only thing of handwritten that I have of her, and it says, no matter what happens to me, always go to God, and I will always be with you. And that statement has been so true. I feel like I'm more connected to my mom now than she was in the physical presence, because I'm experiencing her in a different realm that I wouldn't have if she had still been here. And we don't know. I don't understand why God does what he does, but I do believe that everything he does work in order for our good. And because of that, so many opportunities have happened to me that I know if my mom was still here, probably would have. Because she was my
trusting in that timing, because sometimes that can overcome a low point. Just because when you come. Sorry, my candle went out. When you have a low point and you have this understanding that, like, you get that answer on the other side, and you like, damn, I know why I went through that. Like, that's a powerful moment, like, to really restore your faith. And I'm not gonna hold you too much longer. I really just want to have you let people know, like, what types of things they can look for to maybe for them to know that somebody is dealing with a mental health issue, just so that they don't see it and just pass judgment on it. Because I think sometimes, like, depending on the mental illness, you can have different or odd behaviors, and people just look at it and they, again, that adds to the stigma, like, label it as crazy. But, like, what are some things that, if someone has a loved one and they just think that, that they're off, or they suspect mental health issue, like, how can they support them, and what are things that they can look for to more so give them confirmation?
The best thing for me, I would say, is to just try to be there as best as you can. And that's so much easier said than done, because it's like, I know what it's like to, like, my grandmother passed away of dementia, of having to be around people who are not necessarily in their right mind, and how frustrating that can be. But just keep in mind that at the end of the day, this is somebody that you love and care about, and you want them to be okay. Just kind of removing yourself. And that's really hard, because I feel like me as humans, it's me particular as well, we do things based on emotion and whether we feel like doing it or not. It's a matter of servitude at that point, and just removing your own feelings and yourself, and just going over and beyond and making sure that person is okay, whatever that may be. Even if that is as simple as just making sure they've gotten up and they've eaten something that day or going for a walk or just saying, hey, something as simple as text messages throughout the day. I'm thinking about you. I love you. You got this. And that will just start to, you know, even if they're not ready to open up, just seeing that someone else is having a positive light can really just change anyone's day, regardless if they have mental health disorders or not, but particularly someone who is, just having someone that's constantly giving them those words of encouragement.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like a lot of times we are look to ourselves to kind of build ourselves up, but everybody wants to know that they're doing
validated
good.
by other people. Absolutely.
And most importantly, our loved ones, but just doing things that you know that'll make them feel good and hearing them out as well, and not getting frustrated if they are saying things that are foreign to you. Trying to understand where is it coming from, and if it's not making sense, not knowing when to not pry and push, because I feel like a lot of times we want to hound, and then that's when we get irate behavior and things turn violent, and it's hard. It really is, but that's when you have to, if you really love and care about that person, doing your own research and figuring out, okay, well, what can I do to help this person? Because it's out there.
Absolutely.
I Googled it.
Yeah.
So it's how bad do you want to help that person?
Absolutely. Last thing. So, what can the everyday person do to help destigmatize mental health?
Stop calling people crazy.
Big one.
Big one. Crazy, tweaking, and stupid. Those are my triggers that will really show you that I can act like mommy dearest on somebody in a heartbeat. And, like, just really being more cognizant of what you said.
Yeah.
Learning how to use different forms of vocabulary. There's nothing wrong. If you see someone with a mental health illness acting a certain way, there's nothing wrong with checking them on it. But we are too grown to just be using crazy, stupid, and tweaking. There are other ways for you to articulate yourself and say, okay,
absolutely.
So
this is what you're doing. This is how it makes me feel. Like, this is why I don't like the behavior or whatever you want to call it. But that's a big one. The labeling. I know for me, I really want people to get out of using words that don't apply. So, like, say I'm bipolar. Like, there are people literally out here living with bipolar. You're just moody, you know, like, own being moody, but don't, like, take a label that somebody has to wear on their sleeve, and that's a part of who they are. Because you don't really know the deep struggles of what it means to be bipolar, or antisocial. That's another one. Like, y'all don't know what antisocial is, or just, you know, labeling yourself as depressed. Like, I need you to know that there are actually symptoms of clinical depression, you know. So sometimes it just it's disrespectful to the people that live with these things every day.
Very, especially because I be on Facebook a lot, because that's my playground, and everybody always saying something is like bipolar, but it is bipolar that, or be with somebody that's gonna get you through your mental health, blah blah this, blah blah blah. Like, that stuff is real. Like, people are affected by it. To go even a step further, people are killing themselves over it. So you have to go over and take that extra measure and realize that it is something serious, especially in the Black community. And even going a step further and watching the drugs that you're doing. This ain't about to be dare or nothing, but going over and beyond and being
Look, y'all already know I'm a certified alcohol and drug counselor. I keep telling y'all that having to drink your woes 5 days out of the week and you feel like you don't have a problem because you take 2 days off, like, it's because you're hungover. It's not because you want to stop drinking. Like, so y'all I'm glad you mentioned that, because people, especially I feel like our young Black men, don't really realize, like, the effect that these pills do have on the brain. And, like, if they pulled your brain up and compared it to somebody with a normal brain, you would see, like, why your judgment is still messed up and you're 30 years old. Like, you interfere with the development of the part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, that controls all of that. So sometimes it does, again, these are called mind-altering substances, alcohol included.
For a reason.
Right, exactly. And if you're already struggling with something, or if you know somebody else could be struggling with a mental health issue, don't bond with them over substances. Don't be like, oh, we finna go have a drink. Like, you're enforcing the problem. That's not the proper way to support somebody. Take them out, have lunch, have a conversation with them, but don't aid in what already is an issue. But thank you so much, Liv.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like this was awesome. I'm really excited for people to just be able to hear your story and learn more about, like, what they can do on a day-to-day basis to just make the problem better and to support the people that need to be supported, and to show themselves compassion. And to just understand that, you know, mental health, mental illness, like, they don't have a look. Like, you have to be sensitive to what people communicate to you. And really show that you're invested in their well-being by showing up in the way that they need you.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys.
Bye.